Welcome back, subscribers. So, a lot of things that I talk about are this is kind of a variety show, if you will. The YouTube channel, it's free to the public, and I talk about things that are a lot of different things, a lot of different topics. Um, it's really the drive of Reservoir Human is creating a network population that's inside behind a paywall where we can trade information that is not subjected to public scrutiny, um, censorship, etc., being cut off at the knees and losing it all. So that's what it's really all about. And we've set up essentially like a free network, if you will, because knowledge is power. Networking is very, very, very powerful for entrepreneurial directive as a human being, and we're going to need more of it. There's going to be more gatekeeping that is going to be done inside of these social media systems, and there is going to be absolutely a need for this. So we're putting forth the time and the effort into it now, so that in the next 5 or 10 years down the road, that we're going to be really well established and have a system that you can use for future references as to whenever you're ready to move into that next space for your entrepreneurial path, if you will. And I think what people are going to have to start doing from an individual basis, if you don't already do this, is basically run your life like a corporation. All right. And start really looking at all the things that you're uh, using and spending. And there's going to be, with the digital identification and all the digitation and all this tracking, everything is going to be disclosed essentially. Like, what is it that you're consuming? It's going to be highly important. And if you're not aware of these things, you're going to become aware of them. And whenever you become aware, you're going to say, like, all right, well, I guess this is a problem. How do I repair it and fix it? And that's basically what we're doing, is getting you elevated inside that space, so that whenever you come to the realization, like I'm promising you, that everybody has a loose set of books on a personal level. That could be health and well-being, your dietary needs, exercise, business side. It could be accounting. Are you using digital methods, crypto, your banking, everything, right? And that's basically what this forum does. Is this saying, like, every the more people that come in, everyone is going to have a kind of a microscoped perspective on a specific topic, and it maybe is something that I haven't paid attention to. And if I'm kind of leaking oil in that area, in that market space, I can do a couple of things that aren't really that difficult, change them, and it might significantly change my outcome in the future over the next 5 to 10 years. So this is like it's a long term reassessment, if you will, of how your migrate man traversing through life, if you will. And as we're going into this changeover and this reset that's happening, it's going to be important, because there's going to be things that are going to be identifiable to you that otherwise used to be the norm, and now they're scoffed at. They're not. They might not. They'll be permitted, but you're going to become aware that it really isn't such a great thing, right? Um, so at any rate, I'm going to talk about one topic right now, and this material is going to absolutely be behind the paywall as I move forward in it. And again, like what I do here on the YouTube channel it's a variety of things, because I have my hands in a lot of different things. I like to be uh, uh, I like to tinker with things, whether it's on the financial side, my businesses, etc., whatever, anything, health. So like health, like say like peptides, C60, etc., things like that to keep me healthy. Crypto side, real world assets. Um, we're really big into that and developing that, but it's a slow burn, and it's really difficult. Like if somebody decided to do a YouTube channel just on these items, it just kind of burns out, and it's just not really that interesting. So I was like, well, we're going to do a number of things that are all vitally important, because I've said it doesn't matter how wealthy you are. If you're not healthy, then you're broke, right? So you need to be like physically, mentally wealthy, as well as monetarily. So it all kind of it's it's a system, and it's not necessarily my philosophy, like I said, that there's so many different facets. And what's happening with this new space that we're moving into is that there's so many different niches and facets that are part of this that we can't pay attention to all of them. It's just not possible as human beings. But there might be things that you want to add to your life or take away from your life, and that's what this is. So I'm going to talk about one thing right now, and that is heating and air conditioning. Very exciting, right? So I'm going to tell a quick story. So this is only about 3 weeks ago. Kate and I, my partner and I, Kate, were on the side of the property, and we were cleaning up just I think it's the east side of the property, and I accidentally clipped our heating and air conditioning refrigerant line, and all the refrigerant drained out of it. I had power tools and things like that, and I just accidentally just clipped it, and all the refrigerant drained out of it. I call my heating air conditioning guy, and friends with him. He lives in my neighborhood. I actually have two that I'm really close with because of my background in what I'm going to talk about really quick here. I'm gonna turn my fan on. It's kind of warm in here. Both super good guys. The reason why I use the one that I'm using primarily is because he lives in my neighborhood. It's easy. We get along really well. It's just fast. He can accommodate it. The other one that I'm friends with, he's on the east side of Raleigh. So I'm on the south side of Raleigh. He's on the east side of Raleigh, and the logistics just don't really. They don't really do very well as far as him doing service all the way down. He would do it if I asked him, but it's just not that big a deal. It's more of a hassle. So he has a really well established company. So does Jared, the guy I'm going to talk about. So anyway, I called Jared and be like, hey, just kind of put this on your schedule. Say it came out like the Monday. I did it like on a Saturday, clipped it, drained it, comes out, schedules it, comes out on Monday, puts in refrigerant in. So my system is a 3.5 ton system. It ran, I've got 9 gallons of refrigerant in my system. I had the system replaced in 2018, so it's like relatively new. The refrigerant is about $100 a gallon. So I still haven't gotten a bill from them. And yeah, I'm gonna have to email them, but I know it's gonna cost like $1,000-$1,500, whatever, to have this replaced. So at any rate, it got me thinking, and I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. I know that I'm gonna have to replace my system here in the near future. Now I'm gonna talk about my background really quick. So my background. So anyway, fixed it, got everything running, and everything else, but it got the wheels turning. And my background, 20 years ago, so I was a licensed general contractor in North Carolina, but we also had a partner, and we also opened up another company, was spray foam insulation. And I started doing, I had a project that I needed to get what's called a load calculation. So the houses are super efficient. These energy efficient houses have spray foam in them. And they're about 50% more efficient than a typical house. And the reason why I'm talking about this is how much money in the expenses of energy that's moving up. And we know, based upon the financial system, what's happening, ESG and all these other things, they're going to be they're going to basically penalizing you on consumption. So if you have a leaky, crappy house, it's going to cost more energy, and it's going to you're just bleeding money out. So energy efficiency is going to become more paramount, just because it's costing you more money not to take care of, getting your house more efficient. And what I have found with this, and I've always known about this, is that there's a boon that's inside of running, whether it's a house or a commercial building, and that is to heat and cool it. It's an expense, and typically, so in the commercial side, that's always dumped on the person who's the leasee, right? So the person who's living in it, it's a primary residence, so on and so on. They're responsible for paying the energy bill. All right, the owner of it is off the hook. It doesn't matter to them. So again, this comes back to your personal business and saying well, I have to have heating and cooling in my house, or my place of business, or the building that you have if you run your business out of, and it's just a monthly expense. Well, here in North Carolina, the reason why I'm looking at this is because Duke Energy just increased our our rates by 50%. It's significant. Now, the house that I'm in currently is spray foamed, and it's 50% more efficient than a typical house. So it never really mattered to me. People throwing solar panels up and so on and so on. My ROI was like 30 years on solar, so it made absolutely no sense to put solar on the house. So because the house was so efficient, so I just paid the couple $100 a month, and for electricity, and that was it. So 50% increase, and it started back in January, and it got, again, the wheels turning and thinking like, okay, I had 1 month that I wasn't able to use wood to supplement. I ran out of wood for the winter, and I supplement with like I've got a wood stove that I can supplement with on my house, and it's enough just to take the edge off in the house, but it doesn't really cost me very much to heat it because the house is so efficient. Anyway, I had to run a month, and we had really super cold temperature in January in North Carolina, and my electric bill was like $350, and I'm like, that's kind of like that's kind of a lot for what, it was 380, something like that. It was like noticeable, and I thought, well, this isn't going to get any better. So at what point do I say like, Uncle, I need to do something else, right? It gets to the point where I'm like kind of in the gray area right now. If it gets like $400 to $500 range, issue. And when this happened, I called my hair conditioning buddy that was, in my neighborhood. And I said, hey, Jared, I say, is there something wrong with my equipment? Like what's going on? And he's like, no. He goes, he personally paid $750 a month for his, for that particular month. And we don't have, I mean, they're decent, big house. I mean, this house is about 4,500 square feet, so it's pretty big. And his is a little smaller, about probably 3,500 square feet of actual space he's heating, cooling. 750. And I'm like, that is absolutely, I need to pay attention to what's going on, because that's a lot of money. That's pretty significant amount of money. So my background in spray foam and doing these load calculations. So the way these load calculations work is it's a software, and it's called Manual J, and it's an engineering of the entire structure of what it needs to heat and cool. It's loss and gain based upon heat days, etc. And it sizes the outdoor unit and how much airflow that you actually need to have inside of a structure. So what my experience has been with this is that I had an engineer when I was general contracting and doing these spray foam houses when we first got started. Nobody really knew what was going on with this, so that how to engineer it. So this would have been back in 2006, something like that, a little earlier, 2003. Gosh, such a long time ago. I had an engineer. His name was Dr. Craig DeWitt. He was in South Carolina, and because we were in the spray foam industry, I had a network of people that I could call and said, hey, do you know somebody that can engineer heating air conditioning system inside of a house? Da, 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 da. I get set up with this guy. He would do these calculations for me, and I'd pay him, $350. He'd send me the calculation, da, 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 da. And we'd have a plan that I could hand my heating air conditioning contractor, because we didn't have anything to go on. There was no engineering. You can't just say like, oh, take 50% out of the house and it'll be fine. Be like, no, you're literally sizing, duct work. So it could be a duct goes from like 8 inches to 6 inches, 22 inches down to 16 inches, right? Because you just don't need as much air. You can't just throw the same stuff in. So it reduced some of the pricing. And it made the house more efficient because we didn't have to put as much duct capacity inside the house, things like that. So, and then we didn't need as much outdoor unit, etc. So anyway, when you take 50% out of something, you have to look at the engineering, and you have to have some kind of a guideline behind it. So there was a problem. I knew that as a GC and my experience in housing, I just knew it. So had the guy do it, and he did a number of houses for us, and I started as we were like growing the business. I was growing the business. We started picking up clients, and I had a client. We started getting like really high profile clients inside this business because it attracted wealth, for sure. Like people that have money want the best of everything. And the particular client that he was a builder, and he called me like on a Friday, and he was doing an estimate for a he's a pretty well-known guy, at least definitely in our area. And his name is John McConnell. He's an investor, entrepreneur. John McConnell owns McConnell Golf. He owns a whole bunch of golf courses. I wonder how many he owns now. Let me look. How many golf courses does John McConnell own? 17 golf properties. So pretty significant. So he owns, he started in Raleigh Country Club, I believe is where he started. Raleigh Country Club, entrepreneur, and John McConnell, CEO, operates 17. He basically like shifted what he was doing and moved into golf. His background, he owns Sedgefield, which is in Greensboro. There's a professional event there. He owns a number of TPC courses, like professional PGA courses. But his background, I can't remember what it is. You can look it up, look the guy up. But he didn't start off in golf that way. He started his business somewhere else and then migrated into it. Anyway, we're doing this house, and I get this phone call from the builder, and it was on a Friday, and he says, "Hey, we have to do a presentation for this house that we're building, and can you come down?" I didn't know it was John McConnell. He said, and I didn't even know who the guy was. So he's like, "Can you come to the his business and pick up a set of drawings and do a takeoff, an estimate for spray foam, and give me a load calculation on it for Monday?" And I didn't want to say no, right? So I decided, I was like, yeah, sure, Mike, not a problem. I'll take care of it. He wasn't a real hard ass guy. This builder, like when you get into the multi-million-dollar house range, they pretty much have their shit together. But this time he didn't, because he wasn't really thinking about this. That most of the time back then, like insulation package was just fiberglass insulation, just do it. So it just completely slipped his mind. So I was like, yeah, I'll take care of it, Mike. Don't worry about it. I called Craig DeWitt and I was like, "Hey, could you do this for me? Like, this is kind of an emergency." "No, I'm out of town." And he says, and I'm thinking like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" So he goes, he's like, "Well, you can reverse engineer what I've done." He said, just download the software and reverse engineer what I did. And you're going to get it like pretty close. He said, then you could like just tweak it later. He said, just for an estimate, it'll get you like pretty close. He's like, "How big's the house?" I say, well, I said it was about, I remember 18,000 square feet, in that range. But that's what he told me on the phone. But the drawings were like, it was like a commercial building, because there were all these vaults that were inside of it. So if you actually like floored over everything, like from like the downstairs, I think were like 12-foot ceilings. The second floor was, say, 10-foot ceilings. Do you get it? So like if you just put flooring over each one of those areas, the house is 30,000 square feet. That's how big it was. Like the actual floor area. And then, so that's how much air volume was inside the space. So I get these drawings and I'm like, holy shit, like just to do, I'd never done it before, run it through the software. And it took me, I busted my ass and got it done through the weekend, and basically took a crash course on it, because somebody was holding my feet to the coals. And that's basically how you learn things. If you're really motivated and you want to get something done, you'll be forced to learn how to do it. Otherwise, like, I would have never done it. So gave him the estimate Monday morning. "Here you go, man." Da, 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 right? So because of that, I started, I wanted to make sure that was correct. So as I was getting other projects, I started doing the load calculations that I already done and paid for from this guy, and doing them on my own, and like doing them as a test, like not looking to see what the original calculation was, and then doing the other houses that he had already done and testing myself and seeing like, okay, how can I change XYZ in order to come up with the same numbers that he has? So it's a very sophisticated program, and I was able to do it. And as I got further and further and deeper into it, and asking questions of heating, air conditioning professionals and so on, and seeing how the houses performed in very short order, 6 months to a year or something like that, I became like the guy. There wasn't anybody else that was doing this in the entire industry. And I would bet nobody still is doing this, because again, this is all accidental. So at any rate, because I was remodeling houses, when you did a brand new house, you didn't have any test data on how the house performed before. If you did a brand new house, it would just be like, well, this is the way it is, so we're just going to design an XYZ. So I started doing remodel projects. Now, I'm going to keep this short on this one, and I'll probably do another video right behind this to extend on this. I had a guy, and again, like this is sequentially what happens where you know that things are just flowing and you're supposed to be doing what you're doing, and it was like divine intervention. So I had this guy. Actually, you know what? I'm going to tell that story on the next one because I've already been talking like 10 minutes, and I'm just going to kind of do the overview on this one, and I'll tell the story about this guy Chuck Hicks right after it. And I'll upload it like 2 days. Like you get this one day, and I'll upload the next one the next day. So at any rate, I did this load calculation, run it out. I learned all the shit about it, and we had enough houses in the ground because I had a heating air conditioning contractor that I met on one of these jobs, and the guys would just like call me out, and they're like, "Well, how did you come up with this shit?" And I wouldn't tell them because it was proprietary. I had learned all this, and I'm like, they didn't have the software that I had. So the heating air conditioning contractors use it's a proprietary software that they use primarily, but it's very rudimentary. All right. And the one I had was very it has it's a lot more specific. So for example, I could create a wall assembly, right, and say I had to figure out an R value of a wall. So sheetrock has an R value, the insulation has an R value, and then the wall material, it could be brick, siding, whatever, sheet metal, so whatever. And I could put those in, and each one of them has a U value and R value. Is it facing a parking lot? Is it facing south? Is it facing north? There's all kinds of specific elements. So each one of those wall assemblies, I would factor every one of those things, because whenever, again, you reduce something down in engineering because of the spray foam, I had to make sure that I had everything like on an absolute, like as perfect as possible, just to kind of see where it was at, so that I wasn't. I'd say like, well, you just want more capacity and throw more in there. Like, what's the difference if it asks for 5 tons of air conditioning, you put in 10, that's going to be better. And be like, no, it actually kills the equipment. And as I was learning about this, it was a kind of a sales tool that was used inside of spray foam industry and energy efficiency, is that we'll downsize the equipment and all this other business, and it makes the house run more efficiently, and it's cheaper because a larger unit takes more energy. If I go from 6 tons to 3 tons, I use half the energy. Simple math. But what actually happens is that you get what's called short cycling. So if you put in too much air capacity inside of a house, it will satisfy the when the thermostat calls. I set thermostat 72 degrees, and I have twice the capacity. The unit will run really quick, and it turns on and shuts off. And when a unit does that, it has a startup energy capacity and then a run capacity. And the startup capacity is really high. It's a lot of energy. It could be like, say, I'll just use an example. It could 50 amps, and then run might be down to like 30 amps. So it's significant. Now, if it's only running for like a couple of minutes, which is what happens whenever you do this, it's called short cycling. It'll come on for a minute or two and then shut off. And then about 10 minutes later, it'll come on again, come on again, come on again. And what happens is that the unit doesn't run long enough to dehumidify and dry the space out. So it's like super inefficient. And I had heard about this in the industry. And this guy that I did one of these houses for, I was in one of the subdivisions, and he had done a number of these, like, it was like $1 million subdivision. And they were like smaller, they were smaller units. They weren't huge McMansions. We were talking, and he says, "Hey, can you go down like 6 doors down? I got this house, and he's got a second story bonus room, and we have an air conditioner on it." And he said, "It's just not cooling correctly. Something's wrong with it. Can you just go take a look at it and see what you think? And maybe we can like upgrade some things." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." So I go over there. The house it was just within a year. It was like, because that's why he was kind of responsible for it as a builder. And especially whenever you build like these higher level houses, more expensive houses, you're kind of like on the hook for the homeowner. They expect you to like pick up the phone, and if there's a problem, I'll call my builder, and it just never stops. I know a lot of guys that were in this space hated it. Anyway, I go down there, and the equipment's got ice on it, and I was at this point, I was able to read the back tag of the unit and know how big the unit was. And I was with one of his project managers, and we went upstairs, and I kind of looked at some things, and he had it oversized by 3 times. All right. Because the homeowner had said to him, as the story went, it was like an office space the guy had. It was over a garage, so it had a higher demand for air conditioning. And he's like, I want to make sure that it's cold. Da, 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 da. So the air conditioning contractor had done exactly what the homeowner said, not knowing that this is what was happening, on the houses. And the house, it was doing the short cycling and it killed the unit. It basically fried the unit. It was, whenever they ice over, they're either like, there could be like not enough refrigerant in them, so there are many problems. So I kept my mouth shut, and I was telling the project manager, I'm like talking under my breath because the homeowner was in the house, and I'm like, kind of size out. So this unit is only just doing this one room. Like, yeah. And it worked really well in the beginning. And he's like, it's like I'm the doctor, right? And he's telling me the story, like, oh, the house works like XYZ, and everything was great in the beginning. It kept it cool. And he's like, but now it just seems like it's really having a hard time keeping up, and da. Oh, okay, let me take a look at some things. It just takes care of this one room. Yeah, that's right. To go out there and look at it, I was like, holy shit. So I went back and I told the PM, I was like, hey, we need to go back and have a conversation with Mike. And I was like, hey, this is what's going on with it, dude. I said, you got that thing oversized by probably 3X. And he's like, oh, shit. He's like, oh, that's what you've been talking about the whole time. I'm like, yeah. And that house didn't even have spray foam in it. It was just a regular conventional house. And he's like, can you fix it? I was like, yeah. I said, I just have to run a load on it, a load calculation, and he'd pay me for it, and so I was doing the design and the engineering on it, and finding like, wow, yeah, this is significant. And then I would talk directly because we had problems, and we were all just kind of like learning as we went, and I would talk to heating air conditioning guy. He's like, hey, he knows this is what the problem is dead. We can't have this happen again in a year. And then talk to the customer to find out how the house is actually performing. And they're all very, very different. Because again, you could build exactly the same house and it's like across the street and it's going to perform totally different because the orientation is different. Different glass is facing could be sun, could be trees in a way. Makes a huge difference in it. So at any rate, I saw it in real time. Like I saw it like, this doesn't work. We need to come up with a better system because this doesn't work. And it reinforced these calculations that I was doing. So that was one element. And then I ran into some other remodeling projects that we were doing foam and pieces and parts of it, but they wanted to do that. It became a sales tool for me. So whenever I started, I had a phone call from somebody, and the guy's really reputable in our area. The company's called, it's a solar company. The guy's name is Bob Kingery, Southern Energy Management. When he started, I called the guy. He was one-man band. That was it when we first started. And there's pictures of him shaking hands with Obama and shit. That's how his company just kind of took off because of the whole energy BS thing, whatever, efficiency. So we were kind of affiliating working with this guy, and I told him, I said, we're like kind of working together. So if he had somebody that wanted spray foam, he would just kind of recommend us to somebody. So it was like having boots on the ground and another like sales tool that was out there, and I come to find out that he was giving work away to somebody else, and giving my name and then somebody else's name that was a competitor in the area after I already spent time with the guy and setting up a network with him. And I didn't know that. I found out through another builder and be like, hey, yeah, he just like pushes him towards this guy. Like he's getting a kickback from this guy, something, I don't know. So I remember calling him and saying like, well, like, why wouldn't you tell me that you're handing work away to this other company? And he says, he's like, well, that's just competition. That's just the way it is. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, that's not cool, dude. Like, I'm not screwing anybody when I'm estimating. I need to know that I've got somebody else that's swimming in my pond. And you should have told me that as, a networking client, a customer inside my space. So I told him, so it got me thinking like, I need to have a way to enforce what we're doing is better than everybody else. And just so somebody doesn't slit my throat and drop the price, because that industry was very Wild West. It still is. So I started doing these load calculations and telling people, which were true, because I learned this, that the load calculations were imperative if you put the spray foam in the house. If you don't do these, the house is going to get jacked up. I know this from experience. Plus I was a GC, so it actually carried a lot of weight. and people would, it was like pretty much a done deal. My like success rate on sales was like over 80%. Like I was just like killing it. So I decided to just start incorporating into the sales. So I would do the load calculation and know how much heating and air conditioning capacity would be in the house, and tell them like, okay, I hold that as proprietary, and I would tell the people like, I'm going to go ahead and do this. Here's the estimate. Here's the load calculation. If I do the estimate, I'm going to give you the load calculation. It's going to be basically, it was like, not, I'd tell them it was like free, but it wasn't free. It's just a couple $100 for me and the time to do it. But I would include that in because you need to have the engineering on it. You can't just, you can't put a 600 horsepower engine in, a tiny little car, a little roller skate, like a Yaris or something, So it was important you're increasing the efficiency. Let's just make sure that everything works right. Otherwise, like, why would you be spending $15,000, $20,000 on a house to make it more efficient whenever the only thing that actually makes it efficient is whether or not you're running your equipment or not? Simple. So anyway, I'd learned all these elements and things like that, and found like there was and had enough of them in the ground that finding out that there was a definite, a real payback on an ROI. That was the next thing, that we had an ROI on these houses in 5 years. So if you pay me, $15,000, $20,000, I'm going to pay you that money back. You're going to be making money on your house in a 5-year period, making money. And anybody that was into investing, I would just run it down and explain it to them. And they're like, oh, this is like no brainer. And it lasts forever. I'm like, yeah. All right, well, I'm just going to go with this guy because he's laid it all out. So the more information that we got on it, that it is definitely things. So now again, like what's going on right now with the increased energy pricing, all these data centers, all this other crap that's going in, there's going to be a higher demand for energy, which means that there's going to be higher demand, more price, right? So it's going to be advantageous for you to be moving into something that is more energy efficient, right? So there's something that I discovered over the past few weeks of something that I designed for this property that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to do that in the next video because I've already been talking for like 22 minutes. So I'm going to tell a story about somebody else that was part of this system that like opened my eyes to this being a thing, and realizing that this can be done on any house. It doesn't have to be a brand new house, and you could do it in pieces and parts. You don't have to do the whole thing, because I was able to see that through the load calculation. So I was the only contractor that was able to see that. I'm talking nationwide out of people that did this. It was all accidental, just because of I was like the only GC, licensed general contractor, that was a spray foam guy. All right. So, at any rate, so there was responsibilities that I had as a GC, and I made sure that I had the right pieces and parts in place, because I was liable, right? So that's the reason why I learned about it. And so I learned, licensed general contractor, learned about the engineering and the design work, and then actually saw the finished product on what was actually how these properties were performing on an entire structure. If we spray foam the entire thing, the differences between a basement, a crawl space, a slab, a 2-story, half. I mean, we did a whole ton of houses, and then remodeling them. So I have a huge background in remodeling, and I could do the same thing inside of remodeling. And I'm going to tell this story about this guy, Chuck Hicks, who's a doctor, and he was like the first one that I did this for. And that was what really opened the door. And that's what we're going to talk about on the next video. So again, this is maybe it's entertaining for you, but it's going to be identifying a very large boon and a way for you to upgrade your existing world life, so you don't have to be throwing money away and having, as costs continue to increase, to significantly reduce that and put yourself in a better position. And again, I don't think there's anybody else. There's no way anybody's going to have this information. There's no way. So I'm only going to give the information that is, it's non-proprietary. The private stuff on actually like how to do it and everything is going to be behind the paywall, because I said I've got almost 25 years plus my general contracting business, background and everything else. There's way too much money and time invested in it. And again, it's not a huge cost. ReservoirHuman it's $100 a month. And as this information comes out, you're going to get like real test data. It's just going to be one section of it is going to be basically this heating, air conditioning section, which that's not the whole thing. We do real world assets, digital assets, crypto, real estate, all kinds of stuff, because it's all part of the whole plan. You could be into real estate, and if you're not paying for heating and cooling, like I don't know how you're not. So it's all part of it. So when you start looking at all of the systems and all of the money that's leaving the company or part of the company, that the investment is part of the company, and you make them all efficient, you're a lot more wealthy. You could be wealthy, but you'll be a lot more wealthy, right? And then you own it. It all becomes your essentially moat around how you run your life and business, because of you understanding how all these systems work and how they all cohesively work together. And it's really important to know about them and trusting your professionals. I'm going to tell you why that's a total BS boon. All right. So more to come. Cheers.